Now, welcome to the latest edition of the LFC Delaware podcast, where we're delighted to have Jason Price, longtime member of LFC Delaware, join us. Thanks for joining us, Jason. Very, very late notice, so we really appreciate it. Thank you. Sean can only be with us for a short while this evening, and so we're going to reverse the order of what we usually do, and we're going to go basically to our topics that we've been looking at this week. We're going to talk about a guy called Costas, because obviously last week we were spot on talking about Jamal Lewis as a definite signing. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Champions League. Obviously, we're recording this on the day where City have been knocked out once again in the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Yes, despite cheating.
But, yes. And you were talking about us in recording? Okay. No. Charlie might need a bit of managing today, just pointing that out.
I got this guy right here.
We'll talk about City. We'll talk about Bayern, actually, because and what's next for Barcelona. And then the new season is 2 weeks away, Community Shield. Let's touch on that too. And then I'd say we're reversing the order. We'll get and talk a little bit about Jason and kind of his experience of being a Liverpool fan. But by then, Sean probably will have left us.
Sorry, we got a late start today, guys.
Been exciting. It's been exciting.
Better late than never.
Yeah. So where do we begin? Okay, someone needs to help me out here. How do you say his name? Costas? He's come from Olympiacos. £12 million. Sorry, his name is?
Tsimikas.
Okay, great. So, Nick Tsatsaronis, no doubt will be very excited to have him on our team next year. Anyone know anything about him?
I did watch the match against Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he looked good. I think he looks very similar to Andy Robertson in his playing style. Sometimes it appears Olympiacos plays a 3-back, as opposed to obviously we're going to pay a 4-back. But I feel like I think he's a little bit taller, a little bit more muscular than Robertson. So when you add that in and the fact that he costs a little bit more, I feel like he obviously starts over Andy Robertson, right?
Yeah. So I did, the one thing I did read, I'd be interested in your perspective on this, is he's only 2 years younger than Robertson. And Robertson, so Robertson's by far and away one of the younger members of the squad. And whilst it's important to have backup, it does seem, you kind of wonder what the guy's motivation is. Does he think he's going to come in and push Robertson out? Does he really secretly want to be a left winger? So any thoughts? Sure.
I think he's a bit taller, so I think he may be an option to play center back. Like he's not 6 foot by any means. He's 5'10", I think. Yeah. He could be like a fourth line center back, maybe.
Yeah.
If he's used to playing a 3-back, that was my only thought.
Yeah, maybe against Sunderland in the League Cup on a Wednesday night in September, but
big game.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, when you think about it, if you've paid $10 million for a left back and then you pay $11.75 million for a center back, clearly there's a pecking order there. So I think this guy's slotted straight into the left back, and now Robbo's got to fight his way in, and we'll see if he can actually get there. Maybe he's doing all right so far.
John, any serious takes on Costas?
So I did hear an interview with a Greek scout. I guess he like writes for a Greek, some Greek website, and he gave some good background on Tsimikas. Said he's very similar in style to Robbo. Talked about how for a Greek player to play at Olympiacos, he's handled like pretty intense pressure. There's a lot of pressure playing for them. And I guess he was loaned out, which is unusual for players that become successful, and he handled that really well. So like, it seems like, he was pretty impressed with his mentality. He's very humble, but also very, competent and skilled. And I get the sense that I don't know, but like my guess is that that Liverpool might be looking to manage Robertson's minutes a little better, just because he's playing so much and he does a lot of running. And maybe in like 3 years, they start looking at splitting the minutes closer. It's a good question though, because I was looking at, well, does he play any other positions? And this guy basically said, no, he doesn't. Like he's only plays left back. But it is an interesting one. It's a little bit different than I think most of our transfers have been in terms of like how exactly he slots in, because Olympiacos, like, he's played in the Champions League, so he's played at a pretty elite level. He's 24. Usually when we buy a player like that, they come in to start, or at least, get a lot more minutes. And I don't see that happening with Robbo. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But he looks a good player for a good price. And, I've all the faith in the world with Edwards and his team to spot the talent wherever it is. So
I'd heard that he'd been studying Robbo.
Oh, okay.
And the way Robbo plays over the last year or two, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, nice to have someone who's more familiar with the requirements of what it'll take to make a move into this team. I mean, look, historically, when we get these new players, it's 6 months at least, unless their name is Virgil van Dijk or Alisson Becker. 6 months at least before they get a shot at starting. And then once they're entrusted and once they're up to speed, then they're good to go. But look, clearly he's got a head start on that if he's been studying our current left back. So that's cool.
So a couple of things to add in that. It was interesting that you missed Mo Salah off that list, because I just think Mo does not get enough respect. And those of you who saw last week's episode know that it's forced me to buy Mo Salah's shirt this time around. So back to Kostas Tsimikas. Am I getting that right? It was interesting. What you're explaining actually is the kind of language around why his kind of pie chart around his performance is so similar to Robertson's. And how I read somewhere else, and I don't know, someone who watches Olympiacos say that they thought Olympiacos weren't far short of like Premier League top 6 level. So it's not like the guy's been playing, in a kind of a backwards league, and they've been actually, they've won the league in Greece. So lots to be said for that. Last word.
They don't play against themselves, Paul.
No. They beat Arsenal. Just saying.
Okay.
Jason, I don't know if you have any perspective on him or not.
So I like that he's Greek. We do have a nice sized Greek community in our area of Wilmington. So always had an affinity for the Greek people and their work ethic. And you kind of you get a tough grittiness with players coming from that area. Not only in soccer, but in basketball too, like the Greek Freak for the Bucks. They're very hardworking. It's a very it's a poor country, Greece, and I feel like that breeds toughness and tenacity and 1-2 and effort. And I think that has a lot to do with player development and really as far as like how he got to where he is now, right? And just a gritty player. So. I feel like that's just like a good foundation for his success so far and his success with the team. I think he's going to be willing to work very hard. I saw a short interview with Klopp, called him on his phone. It felt like to me, though it was only about 30 seconds, I was very overjoyed and just very happy to be with our club, fighting for time or whatever it is. I think he's going to be a great fit. I think he's going to transition pretty smoothly, hopefully. But, it took Robbo some time too, right, before he got – so –
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Robbo will, obviously give him some pointers, and I just think he's going to blend well with this team. I really do.
Talking of smooth transitions, I'm going to transition to the Champions League now. And the transition point would be, how come we're finding great left backs for under 20 million and Manchester City keep having to spend 50 million and they're still not sure about the quality of what they're getting? So, Champions League. Okay.
Well, they probably would have paid 50 million for our guy. I just feel like they overpay. Right. At some point with City, I feel like you have to coach, you have to manage instead of buying players, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't do that.
Something. And you sort of saw that with Barca's back line, right? They looked very poorly organized against Bayern. Like it looked like Sunday League ball, really. A bunch of drunks out there playing Sunday League. You have to just you have to get them in line, honestly. You got to get guys and you got to stick with them. You can't just buy new guys and have a whole new rotation.
Yeah. So one of the things
go easy on Barcelona. Okay, they were broken May 6th of 2019, and they haven't recovered since. It's not their fault.
I'm gonna have to mute you. No one should be being kind to Barcelona at this point. So I think it is interesting about the way that they play. I mean, because I think even at their best, they were a bunch of essentially Guardiola's perfect player as a midfielder. So that's I think that says a lot about the way in which Barcelona play. Says something about the way City play. But Barcelona seem in like such a difficult spot now with kind of quite an aging squad. Sean, you're smiling. What do you think? Barcelona, is there a way back in the near future for Barcelona?
It's going to be a long road back. I think I read they spent 400 million over the last few years on Dembele, Griezmann, and Coutinho.
They're still paying it.
And none of them are playing. So
well, Coutinho is apparently
for the other team, and and it looks to me like they need a whole new defense, like that. I mean, they were horrible yesterday. I know, like Tite, I guess was out with coronavirus, but they brought in that Langlet. He was awful, and I thought Semedo right back was horrendous. PK's getting old. I mean, they have, and Busquets is getting old too. So they're going to have to replace all those players. They're going to have to get the money from somewhere. I don't know. They're going to have to hope somebody wants to pay for Griezmann and Dembele, or Tim's saying Messi. Yeah, that'd be a big one if they could sell Messi. I'm just not sure I'm not sure they would do it, but that'd be the easiest way for them to cash in and rebuild.
Yeah.
Can they sell Setien, or is it too late for that?
Did they sack him?
Yeah.
What?
30 minutes after the game.
Okay. I wasn't sure that had
I
happened.
think he got a deal too, because he came in halfway through the year from Betis, I believe. And from what I hear from Barca supporters, that front office is an absolute mess. I think you're starting to see that really show. Because think about it, those players aren't that bad, right? They're not too bad.
They were second?
Really driving a lot of these issues recently with Barcelona.
Well, until they do something about the president and the board, then they can't get their number one managerial replacement, Xabi. So, they're going to blow the whole thing up before they get the guy they want. And then they're going to blow it up even more to get that guy's team. This is going to be fun to watch.
So I don't know much about their politics. I mean, they seem from the outside to be a bit dysfunctional. But I think the stats that I've seen on the field are instructive. That year after year, Messi's running numbers and pressing numbers have gone down and down. So essentially, if you're playing, I don't know, bottom of the Spanish league, you're fine because they've got talented players that can beat teams like that. But when you're playing Bayern or Liverpool or even Real Madrid, you can't afford to have essentially a passenger when you're playing that pressing game. It means that people can cut right through you. I don't.
Real Madrid, or even Real Madrid, all that way down from the level of Liverpool.
I mean, correct me if you think that order is wrong.
I think it was perfect. Very nicely stated.
So a friend of mine said, like, it's when they play a team that's on their level or that can control the game, it's like they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like they can beat up on all these other Spanish teams, but if they play like a Bayern, like they can't set up to defend and they can't control the midfield. So
maybe you should tell Vidal about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the setup was just super naive.
But with that squad, I don't know how else you'd set up.
I mean, they could play Vidal deeper with Rakitic. That was like, but I guess Rakitic's not playing. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm glad that they're problems. So what was that, Tim?
I said it was beautiful to watch.
I was hoping for a touchdown. Didn't think they go for the 2-pointed extra points.
I turned it off after the fifth goal.
Shooting it right over the back line of the defenders, just lofting balls in, and they were just beating them to the ball. Really, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What was especially awkward was Coutinho getting a brace and an assist while Barcelona's driving, Bayern is driving the nail in, to me, in response to Vidal's comments. But man, Coutinho had to be awkward, had to feel really awkward at that point, didn't he?
I don't know.
The Barca's flipping the bill pretty much, right?
Yeah, he's probably feeling aggrieved. I would guess, that they shipped him off. He probably enjoyed getting back at him a little bit.
We got a half-hearted, yeah, no celebration, but I'll hug you guys. All right,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
good job.
So what do you make of this story? So let's round out Coutinho. What do you make of the story that Liverpool will get £4.5 million if they win? Bayern wins the Champions League. It's like, how true is that? And I mean, how ridiculous is that if it is true?
It's ridiculous, but I'd still prefer to see Lyon win.
I don't know. 4.5 million might buy half another left back.
It's not going to buy anything for me.
I feel like that seems like a totally Edwards move to kind of like slide that in there. Like, well, if this player, not your team, but if this player wins Champions League, then we get a bonus. Like almost like they knew that maybe Phil wasn't ready for like the stage in Barca. That's like a lot of foresight if that's what happened.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're pretty sure you're going to loan him out a year after making him like this multi-million-dollar player.
Now, what if he was sold to Bayern and he won it? Would that still bring in that bonus?
I don't think so.
Doubt it. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Michael Edwards knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
Million.
But yeah, I could see it being written in that way. Like if the player wins the Champions League, and nobody's really thinking about nobody's thinking that they're going to loan him out and then he's going to win the Champions League.
Now, when does the $100 million bonus kick in for when they try to poach Mane or Salah? I mean, is that expired by now?
Wasn't that 2 years? I think that's expired. You think anyone's going to Barcelona who can win anywhere else?
I wouldn't think they'd want to, but I still like the idea of an extra $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those rumors. I don't buy those rumors at all.
So enough about Barcelona. Bayern Munich. How good are they? And Tim, we should definitely start with you because you don't like Bayern Munich, but you do.
They're better than Leipzig, clearly.
Wait a minute, they're both still in there. That's like, come on.
I mean, 8-2.
It was Barcelona, a decaying Barcelona.
It's the best team in the world.
Tim,
Vidal.
to you.
I was for Bayern when I thought that City would beat Lyon handily today. I was like, I'm not going to ever root for Bayern, but against Barca, I will be slanted in that direction. Against City, I'll be slanted in that direction. I just think they're too good of a team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are the real deal. I think yesterday's match against Barca was important for European football to see that generational players aren't just about Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Like Robert Lewandowski is in that conversation as players of this generation that are just dominant and can do whatever they want whenever they want, even though he didn't really have a huge influence on the game yesterday. So I was glad to see them completely leave no question on the table about that they were better than Barca right now.
Yeah.
I think they're the favorites going forward, obviously. I would love to see a German final on my birthday, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Sunday.
That's amazing.
Oh.
Germany against Germany on Germany-ish birthday.
You'll sleep over that day, huh?
Yeah. So I'm still in for Leipzig, not totally buying it. Definitely buying it against PSG, but I think Bayern is the team to beat this year because they have two starting lineups, right? They're bringing in Kingsley Coman as a replacement, who would start on any team in the world pretty much, and outrun anyone in a 40-meter dash. So
Alphonso Davies will give him a run for his money too.
I'll tell you what, that was a beautiful goal that he set up. That was really impressive. Yes. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Although we should bear in mind it was against Semedo, who we previously have dissed.
Yeah, he got, yeah.
Okay.
Bad for him.
So I don't.
He's still on Barcelona. To make him look that pedestrian is not completely to be scoffed at.
So yeah, and then they got Sane coming in, but I did want to say that who was influential in the game yesterday? Thiago.
I saw him.
He did. He was good.
He looked good. Yeah.
And he's only got 1 year left on his contract, apparently.
Hendo and TAA liked the Champions League comment about how good he was, so it's a done deal, right?
I'm sure.
So, given our success of predicting transfers, Jamal Lewis, maybe we should come on from
I'll just weigh in.
I wasn't part of that.
Oh, now you're separating yourself from us. Okay.
I have that separation.
Oh, no. I knew it.
Yeah, so in Bayern, for me, you think of Sule at the center back. He's probably world class. The dude's 6'5", runs like the wind in Bayern. And then, of course, Goretzka, if I say that right, the other midfielder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Incredible talent. I mean, I think we were looking at him at one point. Yeah. And then the coming in age of Gnabry. I mean, who the hell can stop him? TAA had his hands full last year, really, with Gnabry. If you go back and watch some of the Champions League games. Mm-hmm. Gnabry really coming of age. And Arsenal reject. Maybe they should have hung on to him a little longer. But that just goes to show you players need time to develop and sometimes the right system and coach. And Gnabry's got everything you would desire, from a winger.
Yeah. So I one thing I've been, obviously I think Bayern's better this year than they were last year, but how much better are they this year? Because it's mostly the same players. They switched the manager. Obviously, the manager's been a lot better, but I mean, Tim seems to. I don't know. The little few comments I've seen, you seem to think that they're a totally different side this year. I wonder how our squad last year would have matched up against this squad this year. But
I think it would have been closer, which we still would have won. But
So a couple of things I would say. I was actually at the first leg last year of the Bayern Liverpool game, the 0-0 at Anfield, and
it was VVD, right?
It was what?
Fabinho at centre back and no Virgil.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I think the thing I'd say is, though, Bayern showed a huge amount of respect. And thank you, Charlie, for sharing something that we didn't know.
We should have known it.
Well, I was busy looking at other things. They sat incredibly deep and showed Liverpool this enormous respect, thinking if we get out of here with a draw, we're obviously going to win at home. Well, clearly that didn't work out, but it was it felt to me like they sat deep, like they had two holding midfielders, and like they hoofed a lot of balls long in more hope than expectation. And it strikes me just how different they set up yesterday versus Barcelona, where they've got this really high line, they've got one holding midfielder, and they're pressing all the time. It says to me that they have a different level of respect for Liverpool. So it'd be interesting to see how that game would play out now. And maybe next season, that will be a Champions League semi-final or final.
Well, look, I gotta say, and look, I'm not sure how much effect it really had, but Vidal's comments, pardon my French, it probably really pissed them off about saying, well, they're playing German foe, and now they're playing the best team in the world. You guys haven't been the best team in the world since before we broke you. And now all of a sudden you wave this red rag in front of that ball and you know what, we're not going to make the same mistake that we made against Liverpool. And look, I mean, funny you meant, mentioning that Fabinho at centre back. I would prefer to have Fabinho at centre back than our Manchester City captain, who was subbed off today, Fernandinho. I would definitely prefer to have Fab than Fernandinho is my centre back.
Yeah.
So how about we finish up actually with a few words about City in this segment, and I'm sure Sean is in deep.
How many?
Good. No, I'm good. We can finish that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do once around on just your takeaways today about City, and where to begin actually is refer you back to a previous episode with Mr. Andrew Beasley, where he said to us City's record's really interesting this season. If anyone scores 2 goals against them, City don't win.
Yeah.
But they run up the score in lots of other games. And I had that very much in mind watching today. So we'll start with you this time, Jason. What do you make of City's latest failed bid to become?
Well, I mean, you kind of saw it at the end today. I thought I saw the Brazilian Lotus Carriers at the end there, right? Like just soft hands and running around the box like a chicken with his head cut off. It really looked out of sorts to me. Maybe that's a reflection on the keeper coach. I don't know, but just really looked out of whack, out of sync. And then easily, I mean, Pep's the leader of this team, and just really underperforming. I mean, is he really an elite coach? I mean, those questions have to come into the mind, especially with what you mentioned earlier, with him losing in the semis and quarters all the time. Is he the number one coach, as some people say? Especially with the budget. I mean, with that budget, you would think you do a lot of damage, but really underperforming when you look at what he spends. And he is a great coach, and there's no doubt about it. But just, I mean, things aren't adding up, right?
Yeah. According to yes, they don't have any of them. According to Twitter, which is very reliable, somebody had posted that the 2 teams that he had managed in the last 7 years, who had obviously not won the Champions League, he spent 986 million euros. Wow. Yeah. I think it does call into question his legacy, actually.
Yeah.
Sure.
If he gets Koulibaly, then.
Yeah. So I was happy to see Sterling blow it with that tap in. That was the moment of the match. I didn't watch the whole match, but when I was glad that I tuned in to see that. My friend told me that Lyon went back up 2-1. I put it on, and then Sterling had that miss, and then they went up 3-1, and yeah, that was fun to watch. But I'll never have any sympathy for Sterling. I think he's a very good player now, and he's won some things with City, but I'll always have a grudge against him for how he left Liverpool. So
it's interesting. I was watching it with my son, and I said I almost feel sorry for Sterling after that miss, because imagine how that's going to impact. I mean, you've got to be really strong mentally to put that out of your mind. And he said to me, "Dad, it's Manchester City. They've got more money than God." Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yep. No sympathy for them then.
Your son is 100% correct.
Yeah, because look at it this way: if Sterling scores that, it's 2-2.
Yeah,
completely different game, right? I mean, like they could have won. I mean, he really did. He really did blow it. So that's fun.
Yeah. So, Charlie, I hesitate to turn to you. But,
me. I love that Carragher was on the panel at the halftime, because all of these UCL games I've been watching on Univision, which is actually really great, because you don't have to hear these idiot commentators and their bias.
Agreed.
Well, I don't, because I don't understand a word they're saying. So today, to watch it and to see Jamie Carragher, at the halftime, talking about the Lyon goal and saying that, not only was Fernandinho, who is their captain and their apparently staple center back, even though he's not a center back, and who's their other guy who was injured? Laporte was also at fault, but the main one was Kyle Walker for not hustling back, for not running back, and in the end, all of those mistakes, particularly the Walker one, comes down to management and comes down to having that urgency instilled in your team, and we have that. And City doesn't. Yeah. And at this point, City's biggest European victory is that day in court.
You're right. Yeah.
Forgotten about that. That's awesome.
That's true.
So, Tim, go ahead. You have the last word on Manchester City's exit from Europe.
Beat that. Jeez. All right.
I mean, it was good to see. It was completely unexpected. That's all I'll give it today. I thought for sure going into today, all I was thinking is Bayern can beat Manchester City. And I sort of half jokingly said to my wife this morning, like, we have the potential we could see an all German final, but we could also see an all French final, thinking that that was a joke. But watching Lyon today, like, I think they're the underdog. They're the Rocky that everyone wants to cheer for now. I don't think they're going to beat Bayern. I would love to see them beat Bayern. I would love to see them beat PSG in a final. Leipzig's going to win it all, of course, because
Tyler Adams.
It's a Timo Werner effect.
He's got to bring it home for him.
Who's that, Jason?
Tyler Adams for Leipzig.
Oh, good
That's
scratch.
right.
Yeah.
Americano.
Well, all let's say is, I'm sure if you went back to the teams who were favorites for the tournament at the start of this year, then Lyon has knocked out 2 of them already.
Yeah.
Juventus.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Giant killers.
I don't know. And I just want to and put this into perspective. They probably are more favored than Liverpool were in 2005. Anyway.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that Lyon midfield seems to be pretty underrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we'll be talking about Thiago, and that's where we'll end up getting our midfielder. Who knows?
Well, now I like to say throughout all this European stuff, thank you, Atletico. I really appreciate that you guys knocked us out because we're getting a break. What kind of break does City get? Because they either have a 2-week break and no training camp, or no break and a 2-week training camp. I mean, I'd much prefer to be in our position than theirs.
And it's even worse than that because they're not having a winter break this year, so the season's condensed. So it's going to be even tougher. Like, not only are you not going to get a preseason, the season's going to have more condensed, games. So, yeah, it's great that we get this break. Honestly, it should be a huge advantage for us.
So I believe the Premier League have said that you get 30 days off between the end of European games and the start of the season. I think what this means is that City effectively get to start on September 12th now, as opposed to getting any other kind of break that they would have done having played on. So they've got to figure out what they do with those 30 days.
Well, you got to consider that within that 30 days, there is an international break.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, so they don't even get 30 days potentially.
Because all of their players are international, so it just depends on which countries are playing and which are not. But they don't have their full squad.
There's good news. They don't have to play Norwich next year. So.
Leeds is coming up. Let's talk about Leeds. How great is that?
I know, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm still wondering if this Thiago stuff is linked to Milner going to Leeds.
It could be. Who knows? Just smoke screen like Lewis was, right?
I'm going to go to a couple of things. But one thing to say is if you haven't read the James Milner write-up in The Athletic, you should subscribe to The Athletic, by the way, anyone who's watching. It's really, really interesting just about how one of the things that you can identify with Trent is playing for your hometown team and kind of and Milner's experience was Leeds basically falling apart financially and everything else. And Trent, obviously, I guess when he made his, when he started playing for Liverpool, we potentially were in the same situation that Leeds were in. And obviously now we're not. But so worth reading the piece on James Milner.
But Leeds are not either.
What's that?
Leeds are not in that situation now either.
And they are not. They are not. They are not.
It's a good shot though, Charlie, because that would Tsimikas play into Tsimikas thing too if Miller wanted to go back to Leeds. So
yeah, well, look, you got that full-time left back, but hey, look, I wouldn't begrudge Milner if he wanted to go back there, and I think if we got another 29-year-old midfielder and we sacrificed, Milner wanting to go back to where he is, then hey, look, like for like, depends. We're not going to get that kind of money for him, but
that's okay. Yeah.
In the end, with all this Thiago back and forth, which was ridiculous, we have made contact. We haven't made contact, back and forth. If Edwards and Klopp decide that's what they want to do, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so in the order, given we're doing this completely backwards, we've probably consumed most of our time. Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. Let's go with the most interesting Liverpool-related thing you came across this week. Charlie, you have something?
Robbie Fowler, God, right? And those hooligans in Brisbane, they chased him out. It's ridiculous. That's all I got to say about that.
So for those who are watching have no idea who Brisbane Roar are, which I imagine is most of the people watching, this is some team in the A-League?
The A-League, my hometown, and it pains me to say it, that they've disrespected God and chased him out as if they're just hooligans and gangsters. I think gangsters was the word that was used. Wow. Get your act in order, Brisbane, right? This is God, okay? Treat him with respect.
So for the one guy in Brisbane who's watching, check that out.
So I've been to a Brisbane game.
I'll watch.
When I was there, I went to a Brisbane Roar game. So I'll just mention that for you, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they
in the stadium.
So we're a Perth Glory in our house, by the way, just so.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Disappointing.
That's where my sister lives. So Sean, one thing you saw this week.
I'm going to go way out there, and this was one of the crazier transfer rumors. This kid from Brazil, Thales Magno,
the next name
that we've been linked with. You know, who knows? I guess it's still silly season with transfers, but that was an interesting one to me.
Is that source from ESPN, by the way? Just
it was at Anfield.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, it was yeah. Who knows? Yeah. I'd still like to see us sign someone to give some depth in the front three, but guess we'll see.
Yeah, there's been some conversation about Sarr from Watford. Maybe we'll get to that next time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think great, by the way. Sorry, out of turn, but yeah, I think it'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah,
great.
Yep, let's pause the recording so we don't have to hear it. No, kidding. Tim, one amazing thing you saw this week. Last week's was awesome, by the way. I went back and looked at some of those videos of Oman Red.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Can that be my answer again? No.
Sure. Yeah.
So I kicked myself. I was telling Charlie I kicked myself this morning for sending everyone the link to the thing about Barca having to pay £4.5 million if Phil wins the Champions League with Bayern. So I revised.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
It was my answer. But my other answer is that apparently there's news today that Liverpool are looking to sign another Greek, Marios Zavidas, Greek striker, as a backup striker. So apparently we're on a Greek phase right now, which I'm down with, maybe, if they turn out well. I hate to follow Sean's coattails with 2 transfer rumors in a row, but I did think that was interesting when I read that. I was like, oh, we're on a Greek phase. Let's do it. I love the Mediterranean. Yeah. I'm in. Let's go.
There's no games, so.
So, Jason, you're well, I guess I have one killer thing to add here, but I'll leave it to you. Jason's going to mention exactly where I was planning to. I know at this point.
Don't steal his thunder, Jay. Don't steal it.
Just to start with, I love both of our Nike slogans. Tell us never, and then Liverpool and England crossed out. Yeah. Those are great. I think you're known for Liverpool and tell us never. It's like, come on, dude. I think that's incredible Nike stuff coming from them, and I'll be talking about a little bit about Nike on the next segment. But one thing to just bring it home with all this COVID stuff, I recently had a trip up to New York. It was the first time I've been to New York and wasn't able to grab a pint in Carragher's Pub. And that really crushed me because I really like going and seeing those guys, the sense of community. And we were there just about a year ago from now fall. Yeah. And we just had such a great time. And I really feel for those guys in New York and all the pubs there, Lever Street and all that stuff. Just really gutted for them guys, man. really brings it home for me. It's not really like national Liverpool news, but it's definitely East Coast news for us. Yeah, this guy couldn't grab a pint in there, and this guys are struggling.
Didn't you guys get to see the Champions League trophy while you were there last year?
We did.
Yeah,
You didn't see the picture? Both of us were in the picture.
I saw it. Yeah, I know. I was jealous. Yeah.
I held that trophy on the way to Madrid. Did I tell you guys I went to Madrid? No, really.
Fortunately, circumstances beyond our control. We're going to have to shut down now.
Thanks, Jay. You're my in, buddy. I love that trophy.
The one thing that I saw this week that was just I couldn't believe is apparently I don't play Fortnite, as you might guess, but my son does. And there is apparently a new celebration in Fortnite, which essentially is the Hendo Shuffle, and they play You'll Never Walk Alone.
No way.
Go check it out.
That's
hilarious. Wow.
Now, do they do the pre-injury Hendo Shuffle or the post-injury Hendo Shuffle?
Yeah, I was wondering if
a little muted
because it's a little risky with that knee, but he did it anyway.
Yeah. I asked a medical opinion from the most medical person I know if his injury would preclude him from the shuffle, and he had no idea. But it did.
I had heard people say, I really hope he doesn't do the shuffle because I don't want him to injure his knee further.
He was always going to do it. It was to what percentage?
I know.
He did it to about 40%.
Yeah.
So what? I don't know if you saw the image today of the team because they're now like in preseason training. So
Yeah.
told me that there was an image of
Not in France.
not in France, but quite possibly very close to France.
Yeah, where was it? There's a mountain in the background.
I think it was in Geneva. Someone told me they thought it was Geneva. The most important thing is apparently he had like a big like cut on his knee, which looked like he'd fallen off the bike thing that.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I just saw a picture of Loris Karius training with the mountain in the background.
What is it with
Reminded
you and
me of
Loris
the
Karius today?
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
Is your new love run?
He's a good-looking guy. That's the only thing I can say about him.
Hey, what's wrong with Baywatch? Everyone loves Baywatch.
I love Baywatch.
Oh, yeah. Baywatch. I love Loris Karius dancing to Baywatch.
I am.
Let's reboot Australian Baywatch. Karius as
They should have had an Australian. You're right. Yeah, they have. Yeah. All right, I gotta run, guys. It's been fun. Sorry, I
wish I could too. Yeah. Sorry. See you, Sean. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today. Yeah. Could you take Charlie with you? Just saying.
I'll catch up to Charlie soon enough. If I keep drinking.
It's okay, Sean.
Okay. So
that's done.
All right. We've got about like 5 minutes left of what would be a reasonable podcast. Maybe we should.
We're trying to keep it to 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, the problem is there's some guy who's in the duo picture who keeps talking. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So we did want to announce a couple of things, right? We want to talk about a couple of things. One was if you've listened this far, good luck. And we were taking membership for LFC Delaware for 2020, 2021. We got a t-shirt design in the works as we speak. We're talking about a few different ideas, one of which involved Bob Marley, just kind of reference there, which you might want to question.
Or not. I get it.
So if you don't know Bob Marley, the only city he lived in
Bob Marley.
United States was Wilmington, Delaware, which is it's not very publicized, unfortunately.
And if you haven't received any emails, check your spam folder because that's maybe where they are.
Good one. Yes. And make LFC Delaware a contact, and then they won't go to spam. Awesome. And then just a quick one on Rooney's. What's going on there next couple of weeks?
Well, apparently for the rest of the summer, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in front of Catherine Rooney's, our home bar, they're shutting down Delaware Avenue and making outside seating. So you can eat at Catherine Rooney's. You can eat at any of the other restaurants around there. if you're not an LFC Delaware supporter. But if you're an LFC Delaware person and you've been dying to see Dave and Carl and all the other great people at Catherine Rooney's, go sit in the middle of Delaware Avenue, have some of their great pinza pizza. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm nowhere near Italian. But the pizza I had for the Chelsea game, it was delicious. Okay. So I recommend that at least. But yeah, go support Catherine Rooney's. They've been awesome to us throughout this entire championship season. And they definitely deserve to see you again. And they want to see you again. They love us there.
And we're trying to figure out if we can some people can watch the Community Shield there, kind of in the outdoor space. So look out for an announcement about that. Right.
That's 2 weeks from today. So you've got 1 week between now and then to go eat there just for funsies.
Yes. You sure it's not Sunday? Just kidding. No, I'm just joking. We had
We've been over this.
Camera. It's Saturday. It's clearly Saturday, August 29th. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So, Jason, again, thanks for joining us at the last minute.
Thanks, Doug.
We are, let's cover a couple of different things. One is just because this is something I think we really enjoy hearing from everybody that we talk to. How did you start being a Liverpool fan?
Well, my first sport I played was soccer. But on television, they had this really good basketball player on all the time called Michael Jordan. So quickly fell in love with Jordan. Watching him, basketball became my main sport, which I played in college. But during that journey, a friend who lived up the street from me was a manager at the Delaware Wizards, which is now pretty much modern day MLS. And there was a lot of great local talent and coaches that came from there. And one of the coaches, former players of the Delaware Wizards, is now at my high school, Salesianum, Scott Moser. And he's done an incredible job with our soccer program. And a lot of the guys I ran track with and played basketball with were soccer players. And Scott has really done a great job with my high school program, Salesianum, and they're always top 5 in the country. So like soccer is just like really the heartbeat of Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. Now there's quite a few good club teams that literally travel year round and play, as well as our high school. Like they're flying out to Vegas and playing. So that was my first like run-in with soccer and starting to fall in love with soccer. I think you find this a lot with guys that like basketball. There's a lot of crossover investment, especially in MLS. You have Kevin Durant, world famous NBA player, investing in the Philadelphia Union, which I think is incredible. You also have James Harden investing in, I believe it's Houston soccer team. Matthew McConaughey starting a team, actor starting a team in Austin. You're just starting to feel like there's huge momentum with soccer picking up in the States. But my personal journey with Liverpool is like once it started to come on NBC, and you just really all of the guys I knew they just loved Gerrard, and I sort of just latched on that his grittiness, just Liverpool, how they play, how the city is as a people. Really reminds me of a lot of my Philadelphia Eagles football teams, the scrappy Philadelphia basketball teams. Just a hard-nosed city and a hard-nosed community, just really passionate for their clubs. So that just locked me in immediately. Like working class, tough upbringing, really just drew me into Liverpool, and I've just been head over heels ever since. Matter of fact, my brother-in-law has family that lives in Liverpool, so that's another reason I'm a massive supporter. And it's always cool listening to old school tapes of like his grandparents like opening up presents and stuff, just audio and their accents and stuff. It just really brings it all home for me as being a Liverpool supporter. And then ever since these official clubs really started getting going, I started becoming more active with them. I just met so many incredible, beautiful, kind, very helpful people, who just draws me in even more. And I think that's one of the special parts about being a Liverpool fan. It's more than it's family, like our slogan last year, right? Like we're all family. Yeah. This means more because it does just mean more than the club. It's a community as a whole. So yeah, those kind of things drew me into soccer. It was a long road until I became head over heels with the beautiful game, but it was the right journey, and I just love how it's just massively growing in the States.
So how was your? So what was your first kind of like joining the group in Delaware? What was that first experience? Because I don't know the story, and I know we've known each other quite a while.
Well, you know what? So I kept liking a buddy's post on Facebook, and then he just called me out. He's like, "I didn't know you're a Liverpool fan. Why don't you come watch the match at Rooney's?" I'm like, "All right, dude, be there. See you Wednesday," or whatever it was. And I showed up, and it's really like, I guess it might have been, I don't know how many years, but it was before we were official.
Yep.
And great cross section of all supporters fans, and I've always liked Rooney's as a pub. It just felt like, wow, this is the beginning of something special for our area. That was really my first run-in, and I loved everyone that was showing up at every match, and really clicked with the guys, and just enjoyed watching the sport together. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do, right? Is come watch matches with everyone and meet new people, and watch us win a lot. Yeah, so that was my first interaction with the group. Yeah. Yep.
We do win a lot, yes, these days, right? That wasn't always the case, though. So, what was the? I'm trying to remember when you first started going. Like, Liverpool did not win all the time, right? But,
yeah, right. So it didn't start with Louis, right? So that's one of the beautiful things of seeing like Klopp come in is him building, right? And even at first was, is he the right manager and all that other stuff? And I think if he was at another, like, let's say, notable club, he might have been ran out. And I just feel like coaches get such a short leash. Let's say the Barca coach this year.
Yeah.
They just don't get time to develop. And I give credit to our ownership, right? They had a vision, a plan. They stuck with them. And it just felt like, I mean, Rodgers ran his course, right? But they gave him time too.
Yeah.
I get that.
It's just one of those things you see it in all sports, especially in American football too. Like, just 2 years you're done, and you just really can't build like that. And I feel that's the same in every sport. Sometimes you just gotta like let the press run rampant and just stick to your game plan, stick to your gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you see these things develop and happen. Right? Because when we sign a new player, they're not like world beaters immediately, right? It takes some time. Like, we're getting Mel. Everybody's like, "Why are you signing Mel?" Right? And he turned out pretty good. Same thing with Mane, right? Turned out pretty good. Same thing with Robbo. Same thing with Keita. It takes time, right? Instead of just buying new players every year like Man City, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like time and patience is how you get the consistency. It's how you stay winning, how you have a close-knit group. You don't have to worry about this new left back. Is he going to be in the right position, right? Because you have chemistry. You built this stuff over years. Like, I know after a Champions League match, I don't need to look for a beer because Robbo's going to be handing me one, right? That's the kind of chemistry they have. Same thing on the pitch. They know where Robbo's going to be. They know where Trent's going to be. They know where Virgil doesn't have to worry about anything. I think Becker knows the position of the center backs. It's that kind of chemistry, and you see it on and off the pitch with that team. It just makes it so special.
Yeah. So,
What does your cat think?
My cat, this is my cat, Callie, as you may see. Her tail's wagging in and out. She's a big Liverpool fan, too. She chases the ball around during matches like most cats.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny. So, we are, as usual, like way out of time. Tim used to be a timekeeper, It's kind of interesting, and now we just seem to have given up on like.
Yeah, maybe we're
terrible at that job.
So one, so at least a couple of things before we close it down. You're involved in a lot of different activities, and I think some of them are kind of related to football. What are a couple of things you'd really want to share with us about?
We'll do with like what most recently I was like sort of helping out with behind the scenes. So there's something with Cal Martino called the Over Under Initiative, and what it does for me, it was really cool because I'm a massive basketball fan and massive soccer fan. It blends these two together, and not all kids have the opportunity to play soccer, especially in the inner city, because it costs a lot of money to get on travel teams and stuff, or the fields just aren't there, say in New York or Philly. So one thing that Over Under is doing is taking these existing basketball courts in the city and making them multi-purpose. And they're putting up little pop-up nets underneath the basketball hoop. and you play your football. And when you're done, they go right back into the ground and you can play basketball. But what I think is really cool about that, not only are you giving access, you're bringing in different communities together that may not be, at the same spot at the same time. And it's also like getting kids a little bit off the Fortnite, right, Paul? As you were talking about earlier, even though you can do the cool Hendo celebration in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Getting kids active, because even with this COVID crisis, one of the reasons we're having such an issue with it is that our population is not really healthy, right? We're one of the more obese populations in the world and not the most active and not the most best diet-wise. So I feel like when we get kids out healthier and more active, that's just going to help with your overall mental mind state, on your physical mind state. And it's going to bring communities together just to, be a little more healthier or just break some differences, right? So over under is something really cool that I think I mentioned on our club site.
Yeah.
It's a 401c3 program, and we're building these multi-purpose courts across the country. And the way I got into that sort of backdoored it. I was leaving the Porto match from Yankee Stadium last year with our wonderful group, me and Paul. We partied for about 3 days before that.
Anyone's listening to the podcast, I don't know what he's talking about. Just
there's no documentation of this. But I get on this subway bus, and it's the last one, leaving Yankee Stadium, and it's very crowded, and we're singing like the Bobby Firmino song. There's this wild guy with a mustache. Maybe he'll come on here and be a guest sometime with us. He starts talking. He's like, "Hey, I work with Kyle." And then the next song comes on. I don't hear anything. He's like, "Kyle who?" He's like, "Kyle Martino." I was like, "The guy from NBC?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." We just kept talking. He's like, "Well, what are you doing next?" He's like, "I can get off somewhere near 38th and go back to my girlfriend's house." And he's like, "You want to grab a couple pints?" I'm like, "Sure, dude. I'm down for a couple." So we had a couple pints. And we just started talking about basketball because he worked for an NBA team for quite some time. So we hit it off there. And we talked about how, like, we felt like the USA has the best athletes in the world and we should be really competitive in soccer. And we started talking about this over-under thing. I was just head over heels. We stayed in contact. And just been trying to actually get those kind of multi-purpose courts down here in Delaware. And you're going to see them start popping up all over the U.S. And who knows, maybe even bring it global. So it's something I'm, like, pretty passionate about, and maybe we can get Katsi on because he's the executive director of the program. Cool. We'll shoot him a little message because I think it'd be cool to share what they have going on because I think it's going to help develop USA soccer even more. So that's one of the sure things, Paul.
So one question I didn't ask you about him is he a Liverpool fan or was he just
yes, Liverpool fan. He went to the preseason match by himself.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
And he told me how later. I was like, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, it's like, apparently Martino's busted his ball. I was like, why'd you go by yourself, dude? He goes, because I get to meet cool people. I was like, I guess that's kind of true. You get to meet me. But that's sort of how that happened. He's a massive Liverpool fan. We really get in the weeds when we FaceTime and stuff. I think it'd be great to have him on. I'll shoot him a message. I know he's really busy with the over-under stuff, but I think he would like to get on at least maybe give him on 15, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Then we could keep a short segment. Wow.
We could one day.
Yeah. So,
he actually has one of our scarves. I gave him my latest scarf too. So he loves it up.
Definitely post a picture of that.
Yeah, I will. I have a picture of this one. When he accepts our request to be on up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'd love to have him. Yeah. So, you final question. Do you guys have a question? I'm hesitant to ask this, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
The Kyle Martino thing was the thing I was interested in hearing, so that's cool.
Kyle's the founder of this over-under stuff. I think it started in 2018, the concept, and just really genius. He has an incredible passion for it, and definitely an incredible passion for USA Soccer. He ran for president. I hope he does become president someday of that, because I think it will really take our program even further, both on the men's and women's side, actually. Yeah, I've yet to meet Kyle personally, but I mean, hopefully I'll run into him someday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I'm just behind what him and Katsy have going on. I mean, I just think it's incredible. So I'm happy to share that with our small podcast here.
When you meet him, ask him what he was thinking with the Billy Idol earring.
I don't know, but I think it's marketing. I don't know who his marketing guy is, or maybe it's just Kyle and Kyle. Which I think it's cool. He's a big music guy, so I think you guys can relate to that.
Yeah.
I think it's just Kyle being Kyle, man.
That's cool. And if you,
I loved every minute of it. It had like flashes of Deion Sanders. That's what it brought back for me. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know Deion Sanders is prime time, but yeah, the dangly earrings.
they moved the week after he'd shown it, they moved him to the side, right, of the studio, so you couldn't see him on the next.
That was the thing. Yeah, they switched him.
Yeah.
Next day.
Yeah.
So we should be thinking about wrapping up. You have one last thought for us, Jason?
What do you got? What's up?
What one last thought for us before we wrap up?
One last thought. Shoot. I just want to say I'm very appreciative of our whole community and us globally as a community, especially with the whole world going through all these crises, the riots and whatnot. It's a tough time for everybody, especially our restaurant industries, right? And travel and all that. Everybody's just getting hit really hard. I feel like these kind of communities, even during great times, especially tough times, brings everyone together. So I encourage everybody to reach out and stay active. And we're going through something. Talk to one of us. I mean, that's what we're here for too, you know? Yeah. We can always grab a pint and watch matches. We can always, pick each other up when we're down too. So that's really my final thoughts.
It's a great message.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to embellish that, Tim.
Nah, I agree.
Thank you, Jason.
That's the thing about Liverpool. LFC family. OLSC family. Sorry.
Sorry.
I think LFC family's good. Yeah, I think you're okay there. But
either one.
Hey, here's our latest Upside Down episode of the LFC Delaware podcast. Jason, awesome to have you on.
Johnny on the spot.
That you guys thought of me.
Thank you.